Hi everyone, welcome to After Class.
A podcast by two passionate adult ballerinas about all things adult ballet related.
And some random thoughts in between.
We're so glad you're here.
So grab your water bottle
or a cup of coffee
and join us for a quick chat after class.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of After Class. Today, we're going to be talking about how to choose the right online program for you. There are so many options available, and we just wanted to give you some tips and some things to consider when choosing an online program. So let's get into it.
Hello, Hana. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Good, thank you. How was your in-person class today? How did that go?
Today was hard. I was like, man, I was feeling it today. It's also, full disclosure, we're all friends here. It's that time of the month, which I just think makes classes a lot harder. So I don't know if anyone else feels that way, but certain times of the month, it is definitely a little bit harder to get through class. So I was having one of those days today, but it was a good one. How are you feeling?
Well, I had a great sleep. My husband can't say the same. I'm just growing so fast. This belly is stretching, my abs hurt, and for some reason I decided to start snoring. Even though I was sleeping on my side, I wasn't sleeping on my back, and my husband has to leave the bedroom at midnight.
That's so
But
funny.
he couldn't sleep, and I just didn't even realize I'm having the best sleep I ever had, snoring.
You deserve it. I can't believe you're going to be having your baby in 3 months. That is crazy.
It's 91 days. It's just insane. It's gotta be life-changing for sure. But so far, enjoying my sleeps and my naps.
Oh, that's awesome. Get it in while you can.
Definitely. I'm very excited about today's episode. I think with the new year and everyone trying to create new goals and expectations and all their New Year's resolutions, I think that this will be a great episode that will help everyone if they're trying to find a new way to create or to choose a new online program. This will be something good for them to narrow down how to do that.
I agree. I remember when I was first getting back into ballet during COVID and looking through all of the different options, and there's just so many things. And there's even more now because that was a few years ago, and there's just continued to be more and more online programs. And there's just a lot of things to think about. I think they're all pretty different, at least the ones that I've been exposed to. And so hopefully this will help as you're looking at different options. I think there are some really important things to consider that may not be obvious at first. So hopefully we can give you guys some tips that'll kind of make that trial and error process easier for you to get you to the program that you're going to get the most out of.
Yeah, I think the first point when you're trying to consider which program to choose for yourself is understanding your needs as an adult dancer. What do you actually want to work on? Do you want to work on fitness, artistic, technique improvement, pre-point, or if you are already on points, do you want to get better on your point work? So that's the number one. Just basically make sure that you understand your needs. On top of that, trying to figure out what you want to work and improve, then you need to consider how much time are you willing to put on versus also how much time you can actually put on to it. It's not like how much oh yeah, I want to do this, but it's how much you can in reality. And for that, you need to find groups or programs that have flexible schedules, or if you want to do more structured programs. That's this number two. Number three, then will be the skill level and comfort. Yeah. So for that, we talk about what are you at this point? Do you consider yourself a beginner? Are you returning into dance and you used to be a really high level, but you haven't done it for a while? So now you need to go a little bit down and start not a beginner, but maybe a beginner intermediate. Or if you're an experienced adult who's been doing ballet for 3 years, once you decide what you want to work on, how much time you're going to put on it, and if you want to be full time on just periodically training, then you can decide, okay, this is what I really want to. And I think that that will be for sure the first step to decide what you want and how you want to train.
Yeah, and I think going back to what you touched on of how much time do you have realistically, how many classes can you do per week? Another component of that kind of leads into the next point is when are those time slots? Like can you only do it in the evenings on certain days of the week. And so that kind of leads into point 2 of the different offerings between more drop-in type programs versus structured programs, and then also pre-recorded versus live. Because if you have a very narrow time frame in which you can only take classes at a certain time, that's going to be a big part of finding the right program for you. So a program that offers pre-recorded classes that you can watch anytime you want might be a better option for you than trying to find a program that offers live classes at specific times where you might not have the flexibility in your schedule to do that. So, do you want to talk more about just the different types of online programs?
Yeah, definitely. So, for instance, when you look at my classes, I offer live lessons. However, I have a specific timing for group classes. There is not much flexibility on it. For the private lessons, it's different. Private lessons, it's specifically when you want it, but I do have pre-recorded lessons. However, they are only for those who have been already into the live. So I would not share those with anyone else that hasn't been there. Talking about drop-in lessons, I think is a good option because you don't need to make that a decision of, oh, well, now I'm going to be in a membership. If I don't go, I really waste my time and waste my money. So you pay for drop-in classes. That's a great option, which I also have on my website, and many other teachers for sure have in their websites. And that gives you the flexibility of, I can do it right now. I just want to do it now. Buy your drop-in, and the classes happen, and then you just drop once a month, once a week, or anytime that you really feel like it. So I think that that's something that they need to investigate. They need to compare, even write down, just so you go, this website has this on that, and compare it to that main goal of how you want to work, how much time, and what are your goals.
Yeah, and budget, I think we'll talk about that more later, but these things all come at different price points as well. So, in addition to the scheduling component, there's the budget component. But I totally agree. I think there's pros and cons for drop in because you pay when you can actually take a class versus if you pay a monthly membership, you have to really know that you are available for that so that you feel like you're getting your money, so to speak, which I think that can also have a benefit because sometimes the fact that you are paying for a whole month or even maybe an annual membership, sometimes that's like the accountability that you need to push
Yeah,
yourself to show up. So I think it's very subjective depending on the person and what you need. So all of these things are kind of to say that there's not a right or a wrong. It's going to really depend on you and your schedule and your goals. So what about number 3?
I will say that once you decided on your own goals and you established that, then you found kind of different programs to compare. Then I think the best, in my opinion, the best way to proceed is by evaluating the teacher's experience. If you really want to go serious and try to improve, then that's the next step. What do you want to learn? Do you want to learn the Royal Academy of Dance? Do you want to learn the Kiva methodology? Are you interested on knowing more about the Shaketi or the Bolshoi methodology? So check for the teacher's credentials if they line up with what you're looking for. Then on top of that, it's very important to do a little bit of research. Most of us are on YouTube, so you will find the different type of styles that we use. So that's something else. Do you like how that teacher teach? It's the explanation what you're looking for. It's not like only the experience, but the teaching methodology. That is style that they use in it's lining up with what you want. How much experience do they have with adult dancers? Because one thing is teaching kids, another thing is being a great dancer, another thing is being able to teach adults. Because we have different goals, we have different experiences, we learn different ways. Yeah, so that's really important.
Yes, totally agree with what you're saying about the difference with teaching adults versus kids. I think that's really important to feel out if they have experience teaching adults, if they even like teaching adults. I think that's huge. I think you want to be with a teacher who is really passionate about teaching adults specifically because that is going to come through in the quality of their teaching. And I also think you touched on something really good. Trying to find a class on YouTube is a great way to test out the teacher's style before you commit to a paid membership. Because, like you said, most of the teachers that I know of, at least that offer an online program, have some form of a pre-recorded class on YouTube. And that's such a good way to get a feel for how they communicate, how they give feedback, how they explain things, how they break things down. So that's a great way to try it before you commit any of your time and money to a program. So I'm really glad you said that because I hadn't even thought about that.
Yeah, definitely. Also, if you don't see it on their website, try to reach out to them. Do you have a free trial? Do you have like I have the introductory offer, which is super affordable, and you either take an entire month of classes or you take 2 private lessons for like a very affordable price. So you can try before you fully commit yourself to an entire month or an entire year.
Yeah, and I think it's really important to understand that if you take a class and you just kind of have that feeling where it just didn't really click, that doesn't mean that there's something wrong with you necessarily, or oh, I couldn't get it, I couldn't keep up. I think a lot like dating, there's like a chemistry element to the teacher student relationship. And, I've taken classes before with teachers where I'm like, this is technically my level. There's nothing on paper as to why this class shouldn't be working for me, but it's just not. And I don't know why. And then you take a class with a different teacher and you feel great in the class. You feel like you're absorbing, you feel like you're learning, you're challenged. And some of that really is just surface level personality. And it's not to say that the teacher even has to be mean or off-putting in some way. Like sometimes it is just that chemistry part of it. And so I think kind of giving yourself the permission to know that that's a factor and be okay with it, and that there's nothing wrong if you're like, oh, they seem nice, but like for some reason I just feel like I don't click with their class and their style. That's okay.
Exactly. Keep looking, don't force it, because at the end, ballet is so hard that if you don't have the right class, the right teacher, you just won't enjoy it, right?
Yeah, and I really think it is amazing. I mean, anyone else who's listening to this who's taken classes from multiple teachers over the course of their training can probably attest to, like, it really is crazy how much the teacher's individual style and personality affects your own learning and your own ability to absorb the information. So just know that and feel feel permission to explore and try different people, and don't feel like just because you tried, a class and you feel like it's not working, like you have to stick it out, you have to power through, because it just may not be a good fit.
True. I think the next point will be communication and feedback. So, what do we mean by that? Can you ask questions inside or outside of the class? Because not every class is for students to actually have questions, right?
Yeah.
And not every class is that class like you raise your hands like, I'm sorry, Miss Jelena, but I don't really understand this step. In my classes, everyone is allowed to ask, but not every teacher it's the same. So you need to compare whether do you want to be in a class where you can ask and receive feedback, or you want to be in a class just where no one knows that you're there and you just want to do the class and keep moving. So that's something very important. Or how personalized is the feedback? Do you receive live corrections? Will you receive video feedbacks? Or will you receive the recordings from the class at the end and use it for future studies? If there is extra chats after the class is passed, if you will have any group chat to share feedback or experiences from the class or any questions. So that's something to keep in mind.
I think that community aspect is a really big part of what differentiates different programs. Like I've taken online classes with certain instructors where it's kind of like you just jump on, take class, and everyone jumps off. And then I've taken classes with other teachers within their program where it does foster a much more community environment, and there is more time to discuss things after class, whether it's just by everyone staying on Zoom or even just outside of classes, they offer different platforms and forums, like you said, for communicating, whether they have, a group chat on Instagram for all the people in their classes. Like I know we have that where we have a group chat with everyone that takes group class so that we can talk about things during the week. We can share if we see a cool tip online, we can send it to each other. So those are also things to consider, when you're looking at different programs is how much of a community are you looking to be part of? Are you wanting to just kind of drop in, take class, bounce out, or are you looking for an experience that's really going to connect you to other adult dancers? Because there is a lot of variation in how much opportunity there is to connect with your fellow students from platform to platform or from program to program. So I think that is a really important thing because I know a lot of people, they want that community. And so you might not get that in every single online program.
That's so much true. We have few more points, which it's more like the next one is trial and affordability. We talked a little bit about it before, but it's considering the different options that you're getting.
Yeah. And I think when you're thinking of affordability, it's really a question of does the price match the value of what's being provided? I think the price range for online classes, I was actually just talking with someone about this, like there's a pretty wide variance of price points for online programs. And so I think it really comes down to do you feel like the price equates to the value of what you're getting? And that's a really subjective question. Like that might not be the same for everyone. Like some people might think, yes, I think this price is worth what I'm getting. And for some people, it's like, no, I'm good. I can do more, free things on YouTube. So like, it's not worth it for me. And again, that's very subjective. So it's not like there's a one size fits all. But I think you just have to in your research be asking yourself that question, is the value there? Because it is your hard-earned money at the end of the day, and so you wanna be getting value from it.
That's so much true.
So what are some of the red flags that you think, because again, like we've said, there are so many people online in the adult ballet space that are offering different things and different programs. So what are some things that you think people should watch out for or potential red flags to notice when you're doing the research and looking for an online program?
I would say that the first one is check that your teachers have somehow a credential to teach ballet. However, I come from a very old background, like an old school background, and that's not the reality anymore. But yet, remember that we are teaching you physical training. So we say a red flag is training ballet with someone that just loves ballet for the sake of it and never really learn how to teach it. That's a big red flag. Just be careful because definitely someone teaching physical skills need to have experience because the body can break. It definitely breaks. So that's a big red flag.
Yeah, and I think, like you said, I mean, credentials and experience doesn't necessarily have to mean, oh, I'm certified by the Royal Academy of Dance, but I do think it should mean that they have at least been through some sort of long-term mentorship or
Yeah.
something where they have learned in a systematic way how to safely teach ballet because like you said it's a physical activity and there is a knowledge of anatomy and the human body that is needed. And even if again it doesn't mean that you have to have a college degree or specific certification, I do think there should be the ability to present some form of qualifications and
Yeah.
training that legitimizes what they're offering. And then I think too, another one would be if there is no opportunity or no openings to ask questions or you're not getting any form of feedback. I mean, obviously, if it's pre-recorded, you're not going to get feedback, but if it's a live class environment, but there's just kind of no correcting happening, no two-way flow of communication between the teacher and the students, I personally don't think that that is the best use of your time, the time that you have allotted to take a live class. If you're not getting feedback, I think you can make better use of that time in a class where you are getting some form of correction and feedback.
I would say that another one which nowadays shouldn't be a problem anymore. It's the quality of the setup. like video quality, audio quality, or even the instructions. Like if anything of those, like if you don't have good view of the teacher, that's massive problem because you need to have access to a clear understanding of what the teacher movements are. You need to see them very clear. So that's something to consider, really important.
Yeah.
It's that the video, the audio. If you can't listen to what's going on, how would you even be able to follow the class? And then is whether the instructions are understandable. I remember I struggled at the beginning because with Zoom, you can either mirror yourself or you mirror the movements. And then I remember that beginning was hard for me to figure it out right and left. I was like, okay, so I'm going to mirror the camera. And I was saying my right, but my right was on the left. And even on my YouTube videos, everyone, the first few videos is like, oh, but why is she saying right and she's going left? I'm like, because I was getting used to it. So that's something else to keep in mind as well.
It's a skill set for sure, teaching online. It's a huge skill set. And I will say too that like just because a teacher is good in person does not necessarily mean that they teach a good Zoom class or a good online class. I have had that experience. I think it is different. It's a lot of different things that the teacher is managing. Like you said, like I think it's really hard if you're in a class and the audio isn't working, like the teacher doesn't have their, their levels figured out, or you can't hear the music. And sometimes there's technical difficulties on Zoom, especially because the internet's wonky. That can happen. But like you said, if there's just kind of a consistent not good setup, it really does disrupt class and your ability to learn. And so I think that is a big part of it, and something that you'll see if you take that first class and you're just like, oof, this is a little rough, a little hard to follow. You might want to try someone else who's kind of got that technical aspect figured out a little bit better.
Yeah. I would say now the last tip or the last thing that you need to think of when trying to figure out how to begin your training this new year, trust your instincts. No one knows better than you what you're really looking for. And it's like what the wedding dress. You don't know what wedding dress do you really want until you see it. Like you can try 100, or maybe you just try one and you're like, this is the one. And everyone's like, oh my God, you should try 5 more. This is the one. That's it. I just need to try one, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's not like you're gonna get married with a ballet class, but you probably will get married with a ballet class for
It
2
is a
3 years.
commitment. Yeah, it's a commitment. It's a commitment of your time. It's a commitment of your money. And it's like I was saying earlier, there is a chemistry component to it. There is a part that is almost like going on a date where you're like, does it flow? Does it vibe? Just right? We've been dating for what, like 2.5 years now? So
Our husbands are full aware of it, so it's fine.
we are in a serious long-term committed relationship. So yeah, it's important, because you will be spending a lot of time, and it's your ballet journey that you're investing in, and you want to get the
Exactly.
most out of it. And so being with the right teacher and in the right program is very important.
Definitely. I'm definitely gonna do I'm going to do the PDF for this podcast, and it's gonna be on me. I'm gonna create it, and we're gonna put a link to it to the description, and everyone can access to it. And we might even make it. I don't know how to do it, but I'm gonna try to make it downloadable. Oh my God, the word
Downloadable.
downloadable. I'm gonna make sure that you can download this.
Perfect. Yeah, I think that would be a great resource, especially like you said at the beginning, since it is the beginning of a new year. If you're looking for a program to jump into, make you a little PDF that could kind of help guide the decision making and the exploration process.
At least it will make your New Year's resolution real, tangible. You will have the PDF and you're like, well, she did made it, and she made everything very clear. I cannot get out of this one now. I gotta run to class now, but really lovely to give you all these tips, guys. I really appreciate so much all of you tuning and listening to our weekly podcast. Is just amazing.
Thank you so much for tuning in. We really hope this helps you as you are thinking of joining an online ballet program, and we will catch you guys next week in the next episode.
See ya. Thank you for listening to After Class.
Join the community on YouTube and Instagram, or come dance with us, our weekly Zoom classes for adult ballerinas like you.
Links included in the episode description. Special thank you to our sponsors.
See you next time after class. podcast produced by Mission Bridge Media.